The plan is finalized when Trump is away at Mar-a-Lago. It's executed in a conference call to Trump, get this, during which Vance, Rubio, Hegseth, Blanche, Johnson, and Thune notify Trump he's no longer president. The crazier things get with our dear leader in the White House and the worse things get in the country, we kind of start fantasizing, I think, about implementing the 25th Amendment and taking Trump out of office. But we all know that's not a possibility and it'll never happen. Because mainly, why would all these loyalists ever turn against the president? But now we have more and more people starting to talk about it. And I'm going to read you something from Robert Reich, the former Labor Secretary under Bill Clinton, where he has a radical take on it. He's actually come up with a realistic and plausible scenario that would actually make all of Trump's seemingly most hardcore supporters turn against him on a dime. I'm going to share all that with you. I'm Jonathan Burton, and I voted for every Republican presidential candidate from 1980 to 2012, but haven't done so since 2016, and I won't do so until this MAGA poison is out of our political system. So I would be deliriously happy to see the 25th Amendment invoked. But like you, I realize there's no chance. But more and more high-level office holders are talking about it publicly. There's a lot of chatter about it now. A lot of people talking about it. You could say it's just partisan bickering, but I've never in my life seen members of one party so firmly assert that a president of either party, their own party or the other party, that a president is suffering some kind of mental or mental decline or cognitive incapacity. And so this makes it something more than 0% on the 25th Amendment. And with that in mind, let's read what Robert Reich wrote the other day. This is really cool stuff. And sorry, when I read it the first time, I thought, he's just blabbing. It's all just fantasy and wishful thinking. But the more I thought about it, they're actually kind of onto something here. At least they're very insightful. Check this out. So he starts off, he said, friends, he's talking to us, the readers. He said, I had dinner recently with a group of political operatives, sophisticated people who for years have been advising politicians and candidates. During dinner, they shared with me their fantasy, which they gave 30% odds of becoming a reality within the next 4 months. So they're not just saying this is going to become a reality in the next 2 or 3 years. They're saying in the next 4 months, 30% chance, okay? That's not no chance. It is some chance. It's bigger than the 1% that I probably would have given it. But after reading it, they do paint a plausible path of how this could happen. He says, in my dinner companion's fantasy, Trump's failed war will elevate gas and food prices so high and long that much of the Republican base will begin turning against Trump, and Trump's mental problems will become even more obvious. Faced with all this, J.D. Vance, okay, here's the scenario. Here's the plausible scenario. J.D. Vance promises Marco Rubio that he'll appoint him president if Rubio joins Vance in seeking to oust Trump under the 25th Amendment. Rubio agrees. Vance and Rubio then approach House Speaker Mike Johnson and Senate Majority Leader John Thune for confidential discussions in which they broach the possibility. Johnson and Thune give Vance and Rubio their tacit support. Vance and Rubio then get Pete Hegseth to sign on. Now, why would Pete Hegseth sign on? He's MAGA, 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 man. He loves the president, right? No, think about it. Think about it from a human nature point of view and from the corrupt human nature we know all these people have. So they approach Hegseth to get him to sign on, promising him that he'll keep his job. Pete, you can stay. They get Todd Blanche to sign on by promising him he'll be appointed permanent attorney general. Vance, Rubio, Hegseth, and Blanche are what Thune and Johnson need to make the 25th stick. This arrangement serves everyone's interest. For Vance and Rubio, it avoids what could be a messy 2028 primary election in which the two are pitted against each other. As president, Vance gets a head start on being elected president in 2028. As vice president, Rubio is heir apparent in 2032, when Rubio will only be 60 years old, and in 2036 as well. As president and vice president Vance, uh, uh, sorry, as president and vice president, Vance and Rubio end Trump's tariffs and his war, which have caused prices to soar, upset the Republican base, and turn much of the world against the United States. Hegseth gets the job security he's desperate for. Blanche gets the promotion he covets. Listen, there's something in it for everybody. Republicans in the House and Senate get rid of Trump, who's become an albatross around their necks, and who they fear, if he remains in office, will cause them to lose control over the House and Senate in the midterms and could lead to a congressional rout and presidential rout in 2028. All right, so he goes on to say the plan. This is beautiful. This is the best part. The plan is finalized. Imagine this. Picture this in your mind. The plan is finalized when Trump. Hey, that's a good one. When Trump is away. The plan is finalized when Trump is away at Mar-a-Lago. It's executed in a conference call to Trump. Get this, during which Vance, Rubio, Hegseth, Blanche, Johnson, and Thune notify Trump he's no longer president. Can you imagine? They don't call to ask his permission. They don't call to say, hey, we were thinking about doing this thing. They don't call to say, we want to do something, but we have to get congressional approval or we have to go through, Senate confirmation. No, they don't have to do anything like that. When they all agree that he's no longer, that he's incapacitated and no longer capable of being president, all they do is send a letter to the president pro tem of the Senate and to the Speaker of the House and say, we declare him incapacitated. And that instantly and automatically makes Vance the president. I know, another horror, right? But I gotta think it's not going to be this bad. Be a little better, I think. Anyway, we need a shake up, okay? We got to get rid of this guy. Because I don't know if the nation's going to make it till 2028. I really don't. The rate, oh gosh, the rate he's going, the rate of destruction of the institutions that have made this country great. I don't know if it can last that long. I really don't. I really don't. But imagine this: Trump's sitting down there at Mar-a-Lago, partying away, thinking everything is well with the world, and he gets a phone call. Hey guys, what's up? We're just calling to notify you, Mr. President. Sorry, we're just calling to notify you that you're no longer president. What do you mean I'm no longer president? What do you mean you're notified? You can't do that. Get out of here. Call the military. Bomb the White House. You'll have no power to do anything. Wouldn't that be amazing? I would love that. Trump screams and hollers, pounds his Mar-a-Lago desk, and threatens legal action, but there's nothing he can do. He's out of office. He's out of office. He's out of office. Can you imagine? Just instantly, with a blink of an eye, you find out you're no longer president. It'd be amazing. All right, so Reich concludes by saying, I listened intently as my dinner companion spelled all this out. So you really think there's a 30% chance of this happening? I asked them. Could be higher if the war continues, one of them said, and the others agreed. Another of them thought the odds already higher. And Rice said, I can't decide whether to be elated or worried, and they all laughed, but he was serious. And just to remind you, he writes, Section 4 of the 25th Amendment states that whenever the vice president and a majority of the principal officers of the executive departments transmit to the president pro tem of the Senate and the Speaker of the House of Representatives their written declaration that the president is unable to discharge the powers and duties of his office, the vice president shall immediately assume the powers and duties of the office as acting president. All they got to do is send the letter in. All they got to do is get those guys to agree. And this is actually brilliant. You might read this and think, oh, it's just some guy blabbing. But no, these people, you can really tell that they have had long careers in politics because they zeroed in on exactly what motivates all of these people. And remember, and they zeroed in on Trump's greatest weakness. Remember, his greatest weakness is that those who seem to be his most loyal and hardcore supporters aren't actually supporting him at all. And they're not supporting him because they think he's awesome. They're only pretending to support him because they know hanging onto his coattails is the only way they could ever possibly have risen to the heights he has lifted them to. Because in any normal world, none of them are qualified for anything close to these positions. They're all incompetent, all of them, starting from the president on down. And what Robert Reich's friends keenly observed is that because all the people around the president are there because of their highly elevated personal ambitions, you know, they are so ambitious, they sell their souls, they sell out the truth, they sell out the country for their ambition so they can have those high level jobs. They're not there for any love because they have any real love for the president, but because they see him as their ticket. And because that's why they hang on to him, they could potentially be peeled away from him if they come to see him as a sinking ship. And if they do come to see that, and that's questionable whether they're bright enough to see it, but if they do see that, they'll jump that ship faster than you can say head fake. But the question is, will they ever see it? Or will they be like the captain of the Titanic and not see it until it's too late? That's probably our luck. Anyway, but let's hope that they do see it soon. Okay, let's hope. We can hope, right? We can dream. I know it's a long shot, but boy, I'd love to see that happen. I'd love to see Trump get that phone call. Sure would. All right, that's it for me. I'm Jonathan Burton. Don't forget to make somebody smile today. Take care.